I don't know if I expect it to work as well as kind of shown on the demo. I certainly hope it does. If it does, it's a huge tool.
You're
I
skeptical.
think I am a little skeptical.
Welcome to ERP on Tap, your steady flow of everything you want to know about NetSuite and Acumatica, the podcast where we dive into practical tips, expert insights, and real-world examples, exploring the tools, tips, and tricks you need to make your business processes flow like never before.
Hey everybody, welcome to ERP on Tap. I'm Jonathan McKee, and man, today have we got a treat for you. We're going to be doing a deep dive right into talking about AI and the ramifications for us, and can we use it, and what systems are doing what with it. And our guest is pretty much the smartest guy I know. He's my friend and my coworker, Director of Technology here at Protelo, Eddie Adder. And this guy speaks so many different computer languages, man. I mean, I can't even list. They talk about, Python and MySQL and Node and PHP and CSS and C++ and sound like the grades I all got in college. But I'm excited to have him here. We're going to pick his brain and we're going to find out what's going on in the world of AI, what's coming, and most importantly, what are some things that we all can use. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight to it. Let's bring him in, my friend, Eddie. Eddie, so good to have you. Welcome to ERP on Tap.
So great to be here. Thanks, Jonathan.
Oh man, I'm excited. And it looks like, okay, you're in your kitchen. This is great. You're going to cook for us.
Absolutely. I love to cook.
Just jump back there on the counter. You've got the ingredients all lit. No, okay, this is good. Eddie, we were talking about AI earlier this week, you and I. I was like, man, our listeners got to hear this. I'm pretty excited about it, but I want them to know a little bit about you and your background. I mean, as you were growing up, whenever you start talking technology, I'm mesmerized. I always have to just kind of like sit back and just take it all in. When you were a kid, what did you know that you were going to get into technology? I mean, were you programming at a young age? Were you that kid in war games? I mean, I don't know. Tell me about your childhood and your love for technology.
I did start early, actually. I think part of it I need to credit a broken wrist and my second grade teacher with. So I was on a bike and crashed my bike pretty badly and ended up breaking my wrist. And it was my dominant hand. So first day back in school after that, I was trying to write with my left hand and completely and totally illegible, right? Totally useless. And my teacher at the time was pretty big into computers, especially for the time. And she had me type everything. I think mostly so that she could read it. And then I started learning more and more about it. And I think that kind of kicked it off. But by late elementary, early middle school, I was doing programming. I started with Flash ActionScript, which Flash is kind of long dead now, but great language to learn with, and just kind of kept going from there.
Oh, that's great. And listeners, how many of you started with a script like that? We want to hear from you. Jump in the comments and tell us where you got your start. Eddie, AI has been like the crazy discussion. Whenever we talk technology, whenever somebody's calling about, ERP and they're interested in ERP, the question they're always asking is, okay, now tell us where this is at with AI. What's on the horizon for AI? In the last couple years, it is kind of the topic of discussion. When did you start first hearing about it, and when did you start seeing this emerge? Because you kind of tend to have your thumb on the pulse of technology.
Yeah, I had actually played with GPT before the main like GPT-3 came out. It was really, I was experimenting to see if it could write, say, like blog posts, things like that. And it was okay. It wasn't great. And so when it came out, actually, I went to sign up, for the GPT and realized that that email's already registered. And I was like, oh, I remember now. So I've been playing with it for a while. But the advancements of GPT-3 was really, of course, huge.
Okay. That's it. Tell us, expand a little. Go deep nerd for a second there. Tell us about that expansion.
So There was a research paper published by, I believe, Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, who made GPT. And they were, I believe, a nonprofit and really just kind of starting experimenting with these LLMs, right? These transformers. And what they found, which went against the thinking at the time, is if you make these huge, they get smarter. And originally, that sounds maybe obvious in hindsight, but what happens is with bigger models, you tend to get something called overfitting, or at least that was the thought at the time. So overfitting is basically you train these on something. And overfitting is it does great on your training set, but then it doesn't generalize to real life when it sees new things. So it's overfit because it fits your training data perfectly and nothing else, right? So you can think of, if you're imagining a plot with a bunch of different points on it, instead of kind of a line of best fit, which might generalize, you can think of overfitting as like some crazy spiral that hits every point, but
my GPS does that all the time. It makes no sense. Yeah.
So what happened is they fed it a tremendous amount of data, and when you got big enough, the overfitting problem actually went away. And they published this paper with this essentially exponential graph of how smart these things are going to be with more and more data. And for the first several iterations, they were right on that graph, and so it was getting the tech industry very excited. With GPT-4 to an extent, and especially GPT-5, it started to fall a little short of the graph. So it's looking like maybe we're starting to hit a bit of a plateau. But I guess the future will tell.
No, that's amazing. Thanks for that history. That's good stuff. And listeners, chime in, jump in. When did you first encounter AI? Did you read any of this stuff? What are the things you're excited about? We want to hear from you. So please jump into the comments. And if you're finding this podcast helpful, of course, hit that like and subscribe button. That helps us help you. Eddie, let's talk a little bit about ERP. I mean, after all, we are on the ERP on Tap podcast. And so when it comes to ERP, we live in a world right now here, Protelo, honestly, and in this podcast, we're really focused on trying to help people if they're looking for a fit that works for them. And we find that NetSuite and Acumatica very often are very helpful, being two of the top cloud ERP platforms out there. I want to talk a little bit about each of them. Let's start by talking about NetSuite, because NetSuite recently had their big event of the year. We did a podcast on it. Our own Lynette was there, and she was kind of giving us the exclusive. And what she said, and for you and me and those of us who are watching remotely, was, oh my gosh, every single discussion had to do with AI. Every general session. There's no way you could sit at any session there without hearing the word AI, because everything was about it. You watched some of that stuff. You watched those general sessions. You were reading about a lot of the releases and stuff. Tell me, what are we learning from this year's NetSuite event about what's on the horizon for NetSuite? And I'm curious, what were you thinking? Because this is your world. You've been working on AI product for NetSuite. You've been actually developing one. But here you're hearing them announce all this stuff. So tell me, what was going on in your head? What would you like? What was there anything that made you go, oh, cool? Or were you like, I know all this stuff?
It's, I would say, kind of the expected evolution, right? So I talked about how it looks like the main models that underline this AI technology are starting to plateau a little bit. So now the attention can kind of focus a little bit more because it's not moving so fast. It's still moving very fast, but not quite as fast. The attention can focus more on bringing kind of the tangible benefits into these things, into the platform. So for ERP specifically, right, I know NetSuite was talking about embedding NetSuite kind of into NetSuite's AI into everything, right? So you have every page and it's context aware, which means it knows what's on your page or what search you're working with, and kind of like an assistant looking over your shoulder, right? And I think that's an incredible feature. I hope that it comes soon. We'll see. I know there were talks about maybe some beta tests and stuff going along that I'd love to get our hands on. But the the direction, that's definitely the direction it's moving, is going to be brought into more and more technologies. And there is a bit of a push right now to fit AI into everything, kind of whether it makes sense or not, because you have to say
Yeah.
AI now, AI, just like you said in the thing.
Yeah.
But I do think there are tangible benefits. I don't Doesn't look like it's going to immediately replace everyone, but I think it can definitely be another tool in the tool set to get work done more
Yeah.
efficiently.
Yeah. And it is interesting. You mentioned, you said, I hope it's soon. I noticed, let's be honest, Oracle's language was very, rather than saying this will be here on March of 26, or it was like, it's coming soon, and they'd make comments like,
Right.
in months, we'll see it in months. How many months? 64 months? 3 months?
Right.
Months can mean all kinds of different things. That's actually good. I'm learning that well. That way, when my wife goes, "Hey, when can I expect this to be done?" I'll be like, "In months. This will be done
Yeah.
in months." So,
You can't be wrong that way. You could even say in
that's
minutes,
right.
right? It's fine.
It's correct. It'll be done in seconds. I mean, honestly. So, which announcement? Because they were talking about so many different things, and they actually demonstrated some of those things. Any of those things jump out at you specifically? Again, talking in NetSuite and a NetSuite platform. A lot of our listeners here are in NetSuite every day. They might be expecting some of this. Um, uh, what did you see? Was there something you saw that you're like, "Ooh, that's cool. I can't wait for." You said you couldn't. "Ooh, I can't wait to see this." What was there a specific feature that you liked the most?
Um, so I'm excited by the prospect of kind of the higher level thinking that they demonstrated, where it was um, something very general, like how is my cash flow looking, and then it could get very deep into you're going to have a cash shortfall in this month according to projections because of these purchase orders, and if you move this sales order up by this much, then you'll cover that. Because that's the kind of thinking it's obvious when you see it, but getting there takes a lot of data processing and a lot of logical thought, right? So
Yeah.
um, I don't know if I expect it to work as well as kind of shown on the demo. I certainly hope it does. If it does, it's a huge tool.
You're
I
skeptical.
think I am a little skeptical. I think realistically, what's going to be used more is the more basic, like task finding things, right? So similar to um, looking at a search and determining or not having to write complicated search filters anymore, because it'll assist you with that kind of stuff, right? That's where I think kind of the quicker value proposition is. But if those higher level thinking things are work reliably, then absolutely that's enormous.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Eddie, you've been working on some stuff in AI for months, and we can definitely months prior to all the announcements that were happening here at NetSuite's biggest event recently. So, tell us a little bit. I want to give you an opportunity to let's give our listeners kind of an inside peek at what you've been developing specifically. And in all honesty, how does it differ from what might be coming up from NetSuite?
Yeah, so the application is called RightInsight. It's really built to focus around NetSuite, although you can integrate it with any other platform, including other ERPs, or if you wanted to bring, say, Shopify data in, things like that. And it works by evaluating a single search at a time. And so that's beneficial for a few reasons. One, we know AIs have this big problem with hallucinations, right? They invent things that's not there. So if you constrain them to a specific data set that you send it, um, you can greatly reduce hallucinations, because it's not trying to pull things from the entire world or the entire ERP. It's looking at a very focused data set. So it tries to answer the questions from there. And the other benefit, of course, is regarding data privacy. Of a lot of people are understandably so concerned about turning over their entire ERP into AI and just letting a robot and whatever
Yeah,
service that robot's connected to access all the data, right? So
sure.
in this case, it only looks at it will only look at the data that it pulls from that saved search. So if you have sensitive fields and those fields aren't on the saved search, it won't be passed to AI. So you have total control over those features.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Is this something that you're still developing? Is it something that's available now? Tell us a little bit about it, because I know we've got some users that have just started using it, and where can they get that?
Yeah, it's available right now, actually. You can go to proteloinc.com/AI to see more about it. And we're also offering a 30-day free trial right now. So if you start today, you can have access to that trial too.
Nice, nice. That way, I love it, especially for you, our subscribers. We want you guys to be able to get some stuff that you guys can actually use. So if you're in NetSuite already, take a peek at that. We'll also link that below in the notes, in the show notes. So be sure to take a peek at that. Eddie, what's on the horizon then for that? That's still in the world of NetSuite. Before I ask you about Acumatica, because I know you're starting to develop some stuff there as well. You're constantly developing things. What's next? Are you expanding that product, or what's next in the world of AI for Protelo and what you're developing?
Yeah, it's definitely a huge focus for us, and as we see more and more users on our platform, we see new ideas, of course, and new suggestions, both from them and also just from us using it internally too, and saying this would be helpful if we did X, Y, Z. So we're absolutely going to continue to improve this product. We're about to release an agent mode, I'll call it. So essentially, you can run an analysis on a schedule. So you can do this for things like anomaly detection or um, prompting, like if it looks for outstanding sales orders that are not yet shipped but aging, and then it can kind of prioritize based on this customer does this much volume with you and this customer orders once every 6 years. So if you have to pick one or the other, etc. So we're going to launch that feature where that's automatic, and you can get an email in your inbox every morning and kind of help you say prioritize your tasks. And that's just one example, right? Anything that a saved search can access, this can access too. So the possibilities are really huge there. The other thing, a little longer down the term, but not too far, I'll say months,
Months and
is
months. Yeah.
incorporating NetSuite's AI actually into our platform as well. So NetSuite's AI powered abilities come primarily from something called MCP. And if you were watching as you said, the keynotes and everything else, that term came up a lot. And really the way I describe MCP is an API for AI. So APIs, right, help developers like me connect system X to system Y. MCP is essentially a protocol, a way that the AI can talk to other systems in some standardized format. So NetSuite has released these MCPs kind of out of the box for certain things, such as reports or updating certain fields in NetSuite. And they've also kind of left it extensible for developers to add other MCP endpoints on top of that, which is exciting. So we plan to integrate that also into the RightInsight platform, so that really anything that's introduced in NetSuite in terms of AI, you can automatically do that in our platform as well as
That's cool.
of course, whatever we build.
Oh my gosh, that sounds good. Listeners, as you hear Eddie talk about this, not only what's there right now, but what's coming, what part of that excites you, and what part would you use of that? And that's a good segue to some of you are Acumatica users, because at ERP on Tap, we talk all things NetSuite and Acumatica. So Eddie, if we can switch Acumatica, of course, I started with NetSuite because Acumatica's big event is still coming up, their big summit event.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be giving all kinds of announcements about AI. I know that because, gosh, just in their recent release, the R2 release, Star Wars jokes aside, they were talking, AI just kept coming up into it. So you've kind of obviously probably not as much to announce, because once their big event comes out, we'll have a lot more to talk about. Maybe we'll even do a podcast on it. But just from what you've seen from Acumatica, anything different, more or less? I'd love to hear your thoughts about Acumatica and AI and maybe what we're developing.
Yeah, of course, everyone's working hard on AI right now. I know they've introduced some AI into their help and support, which is definitely useful. I know I've used that several times already in terms of identifying things quickly in the docs, or pulling things from multiple pages of the documentation. And I believe they have also in terms of general inquiries, some AI coming down the road. So I'm very excited for their release. I don't know if I know a ton of, say, insider information yet about those things that are coming up, but I'm excited to see what they do. I do know that, of course, Oracle's AI relies on kind of the Oracle cloud and Oracle's AI components. I think Acumatica is taking a very privacy first approach, which I think is commendable for sure. Where they're essentially, of course, pulling from open source models, but they're kind of building their own model to rely off of the last I understood anyway. So to make sure that your data is kind of not shared with those giants.
Yeah. Eddie, really good stuff. Great information. We love to keep it practical. Let me ask one last practical question. And that is just that obviously for our listeners here, a lot of them, they might really want to learn as much as possible about AI. And obviously maybe that's why they're here and you're a wealth of information. If someone is kind of looking to learn more about all this and stuff, is there any advice you would give them on what they can do to continue to develop their knowledge? Are there some great sources that you like that you could point them to? Where can they learn more?
The fact that AI is such a hot topic, I think, actually makes this harder, because there are so many people covering it, many of which are just kind of regurgitating something that someone else has said, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I really
who do you trust? I mean, if I can ask.
I focus kind of on the researchers, especially the people that had a name in the fields before starting, and drawing a total mind blank now, but I'm sure we can add some in the description that I had in mind, and I try and keep it balanced, right? Because there's AI skeptics, and then there's people saying AI is going to replace everyone tomorrow. And I think seeing kind of both of those viewpoints is helpful. But the bottom line with anything tech, I think, is to just get in there and start playing with it, because that's how you're going to figure out how it's useful, how it's not. And especially with these tools that are being developed, is you don't need to be super technical to play with these things. Especially, of course, it's a chat interface, right? You talk to it kind of like a human, and you see what it does. You see what it's good at. You see where it falls flat, and you get a much better idea of where the capabilities are, and how you could incorporate it into your business.
Yeah, we all want to be like Iron Man, sitting there working and just chatting, just chatting and saying, "Hey, please bring that over here. Please, can you analyze this in 3D?" That's how we want to do it. We just want to have a conversation with a friend. The one last final question, going really deep nerd, more movie deep nerd. Some people seem to be worried about AI and the direction it's going. I think we probably have more people on this podcast who are excited about AI and how can I use this. But as we look in the future, do you? I'm just, in all honesty, do you have any concerns? I mean, is Sarah Connor going to have to save the world here because of this? Is AI Skynet? Are there any concerns? Do any of the movies got it right? I mean, I'm curious if you have any worries.
I have concerns, but I will say that for anyone that is largely concerned, that plateau with the recent GPTs and the recent LLMs should should provide a little bit of comfort at least, because it looks like the answer, originally we thought the answer was more money and more power, and then AGI will just be born, right? AGI meaning something that essentially replaces or is on par with the human. And
Hmm.
that trajectory, at least for now, it looks like has kind of stalled out. So there's diminishing returns on just throwing more and more money and more power on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's maybe a breath of fresh air
Sure.
for those that are concerned. But medium to longer term, yeah, I'm concerned because I don't think as a society we're ready for these things. I don't, if AGI were to come tomorrow, which I don't expect, um, what does that look like when you have any job that can be done at a computer for now, and once they're incorporated into robotic beings, kind of anything from there? What does society look like when humans don't need to work anymore? What
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know
Well,
what that looks like.
I remember back in the day when people were saying, "Oh, with microwaves and all these things, we're going to have all this time on our hands." And you look around and you go, "I don't think people are less busy than
Hmm.
30 years ago." It's
Hmm.
funny. I think my main concern is young people and how we're raising young people. I think we, especially as parents and grandparents and people who care about this younger generation, need to be very proactive about not just turning our kids over to this. I think we need to remember real relationships. I think we need to remember the importance of face to face, and because I feel like if we allow our kids, and I'm not in any way saying don't let our kids do this, but I'm saying kind of this unsupervised, give your kid a screen, when they're 10, let them have it in their bedroom all night. That's just proving to not be a good idea. And in the world of AI and AI friendships, kids that maybe relationships are a struggle for some of them, I think some of them reaching out for an AI friend because they struggle with real people. I don't think that's a good direction to go.
Yeah.
I think AI should always be a tool. Computers should always be a tool. And if you're a parent, we should teach our kids a very important button on this device, and that's the off button. And they could go throw it on their parents' charger at night so that they can actually read a book and talk with a real person before they go to bed. It's just my
No,
two
I
cents.
totally agree. And I think the other maybe more immediate danger of AI, right, is not this AGI thing that's going to replace everyone, because that's down the road. I think what's here now too is our critical thinking ability is probably at risk. And
Yeah.
there's been some research and evidence to support that. Is, of course, when you don't use something, you lose it. And so if you use GPT as more of a tool, as more of a, you do a lot of the thinking and then it cleans it up, right? So imagine like an editor, like you wrote the paper and then you have it touch it up or suggest improvements for you, like you would a friend. Um, that is, I think, a great use for it because you're still keeping it as a tool. But if you have it
Yeah.
replace all of your critical thinking and you say, write this for me, well then, um, what value are you bringing right anymore? And so
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that can be dangerous, especially for young people, right? Because at least for those of us where this is new and we have at least a foundation of analytical thinking. But if you outsource all your thinking from 5 years old, I don't think anyone knows where that leads. So.
Yeah. No, it's scary. I think we need to be very proactive. My wife and I have a friend who's an English teacher, and she wants kids to learn how to write. And she's like, okay, devices off. We're writing right now offline. And she has them in class writing
Mhm.
right then with no, their source material is actual books with pages, dead
Mhm.
trees. And I think it's good to make sure that we continue to sharpen that saw of our brain. And you're right, not
Absolutely.
just turn our
The
5 year olds over to doing that.
the
Good
counter argument,
observation.
of course, is like in math, right? Calculators came out, and we're still good at math, but calculators were replacing the very easy math, right? Just the
Yeah.
the long division and the long multiplication and all that you could do, but you've done so much that it's it's easy, right? If it starts to replace the hard stuff, that's where we want to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess even it's called a calculator. It did the calculating. It didn't do the thinking. You still had to know how to
Exactly.
put the problem together and everything. So yeah, it's it's something we definitely need to keep our eyes on. Eddie, appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us here on ERP on Tap.
Of course. Great to be here.
Yeah. And listeners, what about you? Do you have any of these concerns? Chime in. What do you think about the future of AI? Good thing, bad thing? What are the things you're excited about? Hey, what are some of the sources you go to since Eddie couldn't remember his? And we have to put it in the notes where you go for AI. We want to hear from you. Jump into the comment section. Please let us know. We love it. The algorithm loves it. And if you find value in what we did here today, please hit that like and subscribe button. From those of us here at ERP on Tap, we thank you and we can't wait till the next episode. So join us again, and thanks for joining us on ERP on Tap.